Hello once again. Welcome to another episode of DARTHTUBA'S Star Wars unboxing page. I'm your host, Darth Tuba. Be sure to check out all my videos on my YouTube channel, DARTHTUBA, 2 words. You can also like my DARTHTUBA Star Wars unboxing page on Facebook, or you can check out Twitter and Instagram. Follow me at DARTHTUBA, or email me darthtuba77@gmail.com. So, we have not an unboxing today, but an unveiling, I should say. I did a while back mention that I would occasionally, in lieu of an unboxing, kind of just go through a kind of storytelling about the some of the items in the DARTHTUBA collection. One of my idols in terms of collecting, the Mr. Steve Sansweet of Rancho Obi-Wan, he made a very good point to mention at one point that almost every item, if not every item he purchases or buys or is given as a gift, it all comes with a story. And there's stories about how one acquires a certain collectible. There can be stories about just the interesting nature of the collectible. There's just a lot of interesting stories. I think for collectors, that's almost half the fun, or even more than half the fun, is the stories and the adventures that go along with it. So today, rather than give you an unboxing of a newer item, I am instead going to kind of show you and kind of go through and talk about an item that has existed in the collection for quite some time, roughly around, I would say, 15 years or so that it's been in the collection. Anybody who's been down here to see the collection has probably seen it, but it's been hiding in plain sight. They might not have really paid much attention to it. So, the item in question is this. Hold on one second. Now, this is the Battle Droid MTT, canned cooler. Now, what might that be? All right, well, to know what this is, you need to know a few things. Number one, you need to know about the movie Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. The film that many love, but many louder people hate. And I say that with affection because I feel like the one thing that the internet has done and that media has done is that something doesn't have to be universally loved or hated for it to seem like that. I feel like this movie, well, first of all, it made close to $1 billion worldwide. You don't make a movie, no matter what the hype, you don't make a movie, and a movie doesn't make that much money unless it has at least some likability. All right, and usually more than just some likability. So this is just my opinion, but I will say that there was many things in The Phantom Menace that I liked. And dare I say, in a lot of ways, it is one of my favorite Star Wars films. Okay, now we have more to choose from. But even with new ones that have come out, I still love that movie. I love the imagery of that movie. I love the music from that movie. I love the introduction of Anakin as a young boy. Okay, it does play with our emotions a little bit because we have to accept the fact that everyone, even the most vile villains in the world, were once probably innocent children. Okay, and it's amazing to see and to think about how life can affect one. But I digress. One of the things that Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace had was it had Jedi in it. It had Jedi when they were kind of in their heyday. And in order for Jedi to be able to have adventures in a story that in 1999 was geared towards a younger, older, middle-aged little kid type, from say 8 to 15 years old in that range, which is where George Lucas always said it was for 12-year-olds around that time. You couldn't have lightsabers going all crazy, knocking off limbs left and right. You just couldn't do that. So what did George Lucas do? He came out with this idea of coming up with a new type of villain, kind of the precursor to the Stormtrooper, and he called it the Battle Droid. And the Battle Droid was a droid that essentially, came out in large numbers and was, essentially just a drone that followed basic orders from a control ship. And, they were fierce because of their numbers. They weren't fierce individually. They kind of looked kind of silly and goofy looking, and they sounded kind of weird, roger, roger, that type of thing. But in large groups, they could do some serious damage. And throughout the movie, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan are, cutting through these things like, they were paper dolls. It was no big deal because they were very they were very thin. They were easy to cut through, easy to use force pushes on, whatever. So you get to the whole movie, and then you get to the big battle sequence at the end, where the Gungans and the Naboo Volunteer Army are going to stage a ground battle against the Trade Federation. And the Trade Federation, at first, they have a whole bunch of these lined up, and then a couple of tanks. And the Gungans have this special, like, all-natural kind of shielding that they activate, and cannon fire cannot penetrate it. So they're safe for the moment. But then these things come out. And each of these little containers, there's a bunch of them lined up, and they open up. You hear up from the control ship, activate the droids, and they press a button, and these open up, and this thing slides out with all of these, with hundreds of droids. And they just drop a pair, then move to the side, drop another pair, move to the side, drop another pair. So eventually one of these ships might have like hundreds of droids lined up. And there was a bunch of these ships. And it turned very quickly into this entire army of battle droids, thousands of battle droids. And then they activate, and they all come up, and they all take out their guns and turn, and they face the Gungans. And that's when Captain Tarbles looks at Jar Jar and goes, "Ouch time!" And that's when the real kind of one-on-one battle began. But it was just such a cool thing. And the minute I saw that ship, I said, that is a toy that has got to become a toy someday. Now, they did eventually make it into an action figure playset toy, which I'll talk about in another day. But this came out first. A number of episodes ago, I showed you my R2-D2 cooler from PepsiCo. It was a Pepsi product, and it was only available like in certain places, and it was raffled off and that type of thing. I was able to get one. My wife actually won it in a raffle and gave it to me. This was what was available in Japan. Okay? I think it was Japan. I want to make absolutely sure, but I can't be 100% sure. But I believe it came out in Japan. And it's a cooler. It is a cooler. It's a little bit of a complicated cooler, so I don't use it as a cooler. The other, my R2 one, I do use from time to time as a functioning cooler. But this one, it just does something different. So obviously, it's very large, and it's got that plastic, coated plastic casing like any cooler would have. But then this door opens up, so we'll go, obviously it opens up and then kind of locks in place, okay? There is a place to put like ice or water and freeze, so it serves as a cooler. We'll put that off to the side right now. And then this happened. You slide this out, and there you have a whole bunch of little battle droid. You know what I'll do? I'll take one out of the package just so you can see it. Of all these little battle droid kind of toppers, and you would line up your soda cans. And you would put your soda cans here, and then when you can say, "Oh, would you like a soda?" And you pull it out, and there it is. And it even comes with little straws that you can use. Okay, I just thought this was a phenomenally themed toy, or I shouldn't say toy, cooler. And I just thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Of course, trying to find it online was, it was somewhat of a holy grail in the 90s, or really in 2000, 2001, 2002. But eventually, when the hype died down on episode 1, I was able to acquire it for a little less money. And it's just great. So it's just a fun, you could actually use it almost, it could almost double as a toy. You could almost get like the 12-inch battle droid figures and put them, put a couple bunch in here and kind of have that play set. So it's a really neat thing. I just wanted to share it with you guys today. I just thought it was such a unique, display piece, and it's got some heft to it, some weight to it, and I just thought this is one of my all-time favorite pieces. I love finding stuff that is not easy to find in the States. I'm fascinated by the Japanese culture and what they they decide to create. I mean, another Japanese licensing also did, for episode 1, they did the Pepsi cans, but a lot of them they did in color, and they continued that process. And those who have been around in '99 might remember that you could go in this country and you can get Pepsi cans. You could get Pepsi cans of basically about 24 different characters. The only problem was it came on packages of Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, Pepsi 1, and Mountain Dew. Well, you had to buy a case of, I think, 12 or 24. And it all had the same character on it. So think about that. If you had to buy 8 different types of Mountain Dew to get the different cans, 8 different types of Pepsi ones. I mean, that's a lot of Pepsi. And I ended up dumping out more soda. I didn't drink that much soda, so I ended up dumping a lot of it out. Well, they were those cans were nice, but they were black and white. Well, in Japan, they did them in color. And then they continued that practice into episode 2 and 3. So that was really cool too. So it was a fun time to go in search of. And eBay was pretty much alive. It was alive and well back then. So it was easy to at least try to find some people selling them. And it was just an enjoyable thing. So the MTT cooler was one of those highly sought out pieces, and I was finally able to acquire it. Again, I waited for hype, and that's something to be aware of. When something is really, really, really hot at the moment, in terms of really, people are putting it out there really, really pricey, just wait for collectors. Just wait. More times than not, these things are so mass-produced that even in other countries, that when the popularity dies down, you might be able to find it for less money. Maybe not a lot less, but a little less. So that's one little tip there. But I mean, Japan came out with a lot of stuff that came out. You saw those Pepsi toppers, with a little battle droid. They had R2-D2 toppers and things that you would just stick a soda can, a Pepsi can into, and then you could just drink your Pepsi can. They also came out with bottle cap toppers, like the kinds that if you had a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi, and instead of having just a plain cap, it was a cap with a little tiny figurine on it. They created a lot of them for all 3 episodes, 1, 2, and 3. And they've even created little arenas and display cases and stuff like that. And people sell them all the time on eBay. I've collected a few of them over the years. Nothing serious, just because it just, it gets a little pricey after a while. And it's sometimes hard to display. But the MTT cooler, that was a must. So I wanted to share that with you today, and that's our program. So if you like what you see and you want to see more, I can tell you that we'll probably be, mixing it up, like I mentioned, between opening new things to opening up and talking about some more rare or interesting collectible items that I have in the collection. But again, my YouTube channel is it's DARTHTUBA 2 words. You can also follow me on, or like me on my DARTHTUBA'S Star Wars unboxing page on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. You can follow me at DARTHTUBA, or email me darthtuba77@gmail.com. So, once again, thank you very much, and may the Force be with you.